Good evening. If we could, we're going to start in just 1 minute. If you could please find a seat. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of voices to hear tonight. I want to extend to all of you a warm welcome to this 2022 Municipal All Candidates Night for the Town of Lincoln, hosted by the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. It's always hard to stop a conversation midstream. As we begin tonight's event, the Chamber and Great Lakes Christian High School would like to make an acknowledgement that the land that we are on today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, many of whom continue to live and to work here. We recognize and deeply respect the deep historic connection that many First Nations peoples have to this place, and we acknowledge that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and the friendship we have with Indigenous peoples. Hello, my name is Don Rose, and I am the Chief Administrator here at Great Lakes Christian High School and a board member of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. And I want to extend the warmest of greetings to all of our candidates here tonight and to our fellow constituents. We want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. I am representing the Chamber's Government Relations and Advocacy Committee. As your local Chamber of Commerce, we are committed to being the voice of our member businesses to all the levels of government. Our Government Relations and Advocacy Committee was created to identify issues in governmental policies that affect Chamber members, to connect our members with government resources, and to help build constructive relationships with representatives of local, regional, provincial, and federal governments. And tonight, we have an opportunity to hear from multiple voices seeking to represent our community in our municipal government. We hope you find this time informative as you decide how to exercise your right to vote in this municipal election. Please note that there will be no tolerance for uncivil or unprofessional behavior towards staff or volunteers of the Chamber, candidates, or other event attendees. And also for your information, we are live streaming this event tonight, and it will be shared on the Chamber's YouTube channel. Before I introduce our moderator, we want to recognize and we want to congratulate the acclaimed positions of Mayor and Regional Councillor, both of whom will bring brief greetings at the beginning and the end of our All Candidates event, respectively. So please, with me, would you please welcome our Mayor, Sandra Easton. Mayor.
My goodness. I think those people that are home watching that hockey game are going to be missing out. I hope you agree. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm sure if you want to know what the score is, somebody will have it and send a quick message. So good evening, Lincoln citizens. This is a small but mighty group that are here. I really feel that the councillors and candidates that are coming forward this evening are well supported by your interest in local government. Election years are always a time for accountability, for sharing facts, and I happen to think they should be a time for celebration. If you've done any work at all, if you've had any interest in community, if you've made any accomplishments whatsoever, they should be celebrated for sure. In my role as mayor and the head of council, I believe that comments that come from members of the public are opportunities to take in what they have to say and to use that information wisely. What do people say? I started making a list of these a few years ago. Sandra, we want you to keep doing what you're doing, and we want you to do more. Here's a good one. Don't do things twice. Do it right the first time. We don't want to pay twice. They like that council and staff are always thinking proactively. They feel that Lincoln plans ahead, and I agree. The seniors are happy that we care about and have concern for them, and therefore ensure that they have programs and that their activities are supported. And we have invested in youth opportunities to prepare them for a great future. Civic Connects is just a very dynamic program for postgraduate university students, and they are doing some great work with businesses and learning all about going out into the workplace. People like it when the staff come to their house, come to their basements, come and sit in the backyard. They say they're fair. They're always finding solutions. Sometimes it's hard to find a solution when there's a lot of people involved. They give thanks for us moving forward with a deliberate plan for the environment, and we have so much to do with this. We've only done a bit on our tree canopy, but we're getting there. Councillor Foster and I both supported motions on the natural connections. People love the great connected pathways for cycling and walking. I feel very satisfied when I hear these comments, and I know we are working hard on your behalf. I look forward to hearing substantive comments tonight about a collective vision and the future of Lincoln. I also see that some of the questions tonight related to development and one on staffing. I don't see anything about jobs. I don't see any reference to vision or the environment or a healthy community. And let me begin by saying that thousands of residents that I've spoken to over the last 8 years, what they're telling me is they want to live in a community that they can age in and also have their children live close by. That also means green space, and it means protecting our agricultural legacy. It means having jobs. It means forming new business and supporting expanding business. It means meaningful play for children and varied housing stock. All work that builds Lincoln is priority work. And the narrative on staff needs to be shifted by reflecting to the millions in revenue and jobs for the community that our economic development staff, for one, have helped generate. Add to this millions in financial support through grants for businesses and youth development, and the recent completion of just phase one of a 3-phase industrial development that's the biggest we've ever had in Lincoln in 40 years. Any corporate board that has the assets of Lincoln, which are in the neighborhood of $500 million, are looking for the most capable and talented staff, not decrying their value. We value for those who work for all of us. As you can see, my point in sharing this with you is that we must be bold in sharing a vision and then making it happen. To me, jobs and supporting our economy are critical. It's our priority. It's like having a high quality of life. We need the best counsel to fulfill this. Our governance is open and transparent. It's well supported by two-way communication methods. We can always do better. We continue to invite your ideas to focus positively on what is important to you. In many cases, how we can do it. That's where advisory committees fit in. And for those of you that sit on them, Thank you very much for your contributions. But all of this rolls up into a 4-year plan of action. We have always welcomed newcomers to Lincoln, and we know that change is both gradual and intentional. We always look for ways to support the business community, and we keep working for you and your families. Before wrapping up, I want to ask you to reflect on this. What is the community that you want to create? And let's work together to build that collective vision for Lincoln. I look forward to speaking to many of you after the discussion this evening. Together, our love for Lincoln and determination to recover from several challenging years will be the guiding compass to help us achieve our vision. Your vote on October 24th, or before, will ensure that the best candidates are chosen to represent Lincoln. And that's where and when our journey will collectively begin. As the elected head of council between 2022 and 2026 by acclamation, my intentions have not changed. I will continue to work with the CAO and all of our partners. Regional Councillor Foster and I will continue to lead on a progressive agenda of reform, including shared services. All the best to our serious candidates. The serious candidates are here tonight to face you. Thank you all very much. Good luck.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator, David Brown. David is a land use planning consultant currently based in Lincoln and recently completed a 2-year term as member on the Provincial Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. David is a member of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and an active participant in our Government Relations and Advocacy Committee promoting small business in the town of Lincoln and in the Greater Niagara region. He's received a Civic Recognition Award on 4 occasions for his volunteer work in our communities. And David and his spouse, Diane, currently own and operate a bed and breakfast in Jordan Station. To David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Don. Good evening, everyone. Thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule to be here and miss the Leafs game, but I'm sure that it'll be a successful one just the same. Candidates have all been circulated the questions and the format for this evening, so we're looking forward to a very good evening of well-prepared responses and strict adherence to the time frames that we've set out for them. I reiterate that just because we're going to get to that in a minute. We're pleased to be able to facilitate this event that features 21 candidates running for our town council and 3 candidates for trustee for each of the Niagara District School Board and the Niagara Catholic District School Board. I'm going to ask you to keep any applause, cheers, jumping up and down to a minimum this evening, just so that we can get through our agenda, because it is going to be a busy evening. A reminder that we do expect the candidates to be respectful to one another, not that I don't think they will, but just going to put that out there, and we ask that the audience do the same. This evening is to allow us to meet our candidates, to hear from them, and to help us inform our decision for October 24th. So let's get started. I'm going to invite the candidates for Ward 4, if they would come forward and find a seat up here. You can choose whichever seat you want, I think is how we're going to do this, because I'll be able to figure it out from there. We've mixed things up a little bit this evening. We're going to be starting with Ward 4. Normally we start with Ward 1, but the people in Ward 4 are always the last ones up, so we're going to mix it up tonight. We're going to put Ward 4 up first. When the candidates here we go, or get in position, I'm going to ask that the Ward 2 candidates get ready. We're going to have them on the on-deck circle, and I made a reference earlier to the Blue Jays. I was hoping we might be able to bring some baseball analogies in here, but hey, who knew an 8-1 lead wasn't enough to coast for the rest of the game? I just don't know how that happens. So we've got 3 candidates, that's right. It's Ward 4, 3 candidates. We welcome David Brown. Just to be clear, it's not my brother. We're not related. Greg Reimer and Lynn Timmers. They are also not related to me. I just thought I'd put that out there to make sure that everyone's in the same boat. We're going to, each candidate will be provided with 2 minutes in which they will introduce themselves and share with us a little bit about why they're running and what they hope to accomplish. When we reach the 15-second mark of their 2 minutes remaining, or the remaining 15 seconds of their 2 minutes, my associate Marty, who's sitting down in the front row, he's going to raise a yellow card. Can you just demonstrate that for us, Marty? Yellow. That will let the candidates know that 15 seconds remains. And when we get to the end of our 2 minutes, he's going to raise the stop sign. If you're still talking, I will interrupt you. So we'll look forward to hearing 2 minutes from each of our candidates. We're going to hear them in alphabetical order. We're going to start first with David, just because in alphabetical order, it's not because he's my brother or anything like that. David, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you as well to Lindsay and Don for arranging this, and for all of you for showing up and participating in this wonderful event. My name is David Brown, and I'm a longtime resident of Lincoln, a dual graduate of Brock University, and had a successful career in financial services. I'm also involved in volunteering and have recently served on the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee for the town of Lincoln. So why am I running for council? I want to be a full-time voice for Ward 4 residents. I was motivated by the proposal to change the bylaws to allow for a 20 to 23 story building development by LJM for high rises. Is this a precedent? Ultimately, this was turned down. However, it was enough of a concern to run for council. Service commitment levels, parking availability, and water table concerns were enough of an issue to cause me to run. And what will 5,000 plus new residents near Lake Ontario do for traffic on Victoria? There's already speeding violators and people who have who are on transport trucks that are trying to avoid the way station. So this was one of my chief concerns. So I'll ask you, on October 24th, Brown is first on the ballot. Let me be first on your choice.
Thank you, David. Next. Yes. Next, we'll hear from Greg.
Good evening. My wife and myself have been intentional in raising our family in Lincoln. The community our kids grew up in played an integral part in who we are today. As the recent pandemic taught us, we need to be connected as neighborhoods and communities. The well-being of residents and safety of our families are paramount. Enhancing downtown cores like the Jordan Village and active transportation options such as Conkle Creek Path contribute to this reality. Supporting the investment in parks like Rotary and Angelina McCree-Prokich, complete roads like Rittenhouse Road, and traffic safety initiatives such as 20 Valley School Safety Zone are some of the ways in which council is fulfilling this vision. Lincoln's future needs to be made up of a variety of people representing different cultures, lifestyles, and life stages to facilitate a complete community. As a council, we need to provide various types of housing and places to call home as Lincoln continues to grow. The decisions we make at council should reflect that. Residents are concerned about the increasing expenses of life in general. This includes cost of living, the inflating price tag on goods and services, and their taxes, whether that be property or income. Much of this we don't have control over, but where we can find a way to help and not heighten the impacts and challenges, we should. I will respect people's desire to invest in infrastructure and the ability to pay and balance the demand for different services as council establishes yearly budgets. Lincoln continues to be an exciting place to live with incredible potential and a wealth of history and experiences. Over the last 4 years, council, along with staff, have been innovative leaders in the region, maintaining a high level of communication with residents, a drive to discover creative solutions, and promoting a high level of support for our business community. Rebuilding Vineland's downtown, a vibrant Prudhome's community, expanding the awareness of Niagara Benchlands, and maintaining fiscal responsibility are all projects I'm eager to engage in the upcoming term. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Lynn.
Thank you very much, David. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight, and to the Chamber for hosting. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Lynn Timmers, and I've been privileged to represent Ward 4 these past 8 years. I am currently serving as Deputy Mayor. As a longtime resident myself, it's something I take immense pride in serving my community. This last term, my commitments were extensive. I'm a member of several boards and committees, things like forming the Age-Friendly Committee, the new Housing and Homelessness, the work by Heritage, my appointment to the new Museum Board. As budget chair, I led and we brought forward a balanced budget with one of the lowest increases in the region for the past 2 years to keep life affordable, continue to deliver services, invest in roads and infrastructure. I will advocate and support affordable, attainable housing, traffic safety and traffic calming, the plan for the new truck bypass route in Beamsville. We need to plan for our future, smart development that meets our needs, appropriate locations within our communities, long-term planning for infrastructure, making good decisions and prioritizing our budget needs, with a focus to keep taxes low and life affordable, providing services for families, seniors, and youth. The redevelopment of downtown Vineland, commitment to Lincoln's unique cultural and heritage, our historical character, supporting our Center of Excellence for Agriculture, the launch of the new Benchlands tourism strategy to attract tourists, investments, and create jobs. I want to work with Council to create a healthy town, a sense of belonging and community spirit. I promise to always be accessible and available to all Ward 4 residents and across the town. Thank you for putting your trust in me.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, candidates. We have introduced a question and answer format for our meeting this evening. We have the opportunity to have a little bit of a back and forth where we haven't had that time available to us. So we're going to do that this year and we're looking forward to it. Each of the questions, 7 questions, have been circulated to each of the candidates running and they've been asked to prepare a 1-minute response. Well, let me rephrase that. Prepare a response that doesn't exceed 1 minute and share that with us this evening. The candidates don't know what question they're going to ask, and I don't know what question I'm going to ask them until I turn this page over. So it's going to be a random process for all of us involved. The questions were compiled from members of the Chamber of Commerce and from the public through our website. We had a portal and invited people to participate and ask any questions. We've reviewed those questions, grouped them together to try and capture the essence of what the issue or the concern may have been that was stemming from those multiple issues, and the top 7 made the cut, if you will, and those are the ones that are put before the members or the candidates this evening. Just a reminder, you have 1 minute to respond to the question, and Marty's got his 15-second flag ready to go, and he will raise the stop sign when we get to the end. Each of the questions will be posed in the same order as the opening remarks. So we're going to be starting with David. And David, your question this evening will be, what is your position on the need for additional parks, recreational services, and natural spaces for residents to access in the town of Lincoln? And how would you, if elected, prioritize these issues?
So thanks for the question. Great question, by the way. Parks, recreational services, and natural spaces enhance the quality of life for residents, but increasing these come at a marginal cost. I broadly support growing the tree canopy, improving naturalized areas, and integrating trails and parks. All of these require close communication and guidance from the residents. And these would be what I would use to guide the policy decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Greg, your question this evening. Costs of doing business are increasing everywhere, and the businesses in Lincoln are feeling that pressure. What do you see as something the town of Lincoln can do to help keep Lincoln's business community competitive and costs affordable, such that they will want to stay, grow, prosper, and belong?
Thank you, David. While we can't control factors such as global inflation or rising interest rates, our Economic Development Office is busy on several fronts to assist local businesses. We have developed a new tourism brand, Niagara Benchlands, to promote tourism and hospitality-based businesses. We've been engaging youth through our Youth Still Studio and Digital Main Street to help businesses get online. Engaging with local businesses regularly to hear their concerns and working with upper levels of government to secure funding as well. In fact, just today we received word that the town of Lincoln has received $2.2 million in funding from the Canadian Community Revitalization Fund delivered by FedDev Ontario. This is great news. It will be invested in various Lincoln community projects to support tourism and community infrastructure. This is largely due to the incredible hard work of our town of Lincoln staff and will directly benefit businesses and programs here in Lincoln.
Thank you, Greg. And Lynn, your question this evening. The town of Lincoln has a unique combination of prime agricultural lands, greenbelt lands, and lands protected by the Niagara Escarpment Commission. These classifications of lands affect the amount of land available for new development and redevelopment in the town. We have seen many new development applications come forward with significant densities in the context of the town of Lincoln. How will you respond to applications seeking increased densities and heights beyond those currently outlined in the town's official plan?
Thank you very much, David. First off, around lands, Lincoln's lands are 66% protected by the Greenbelt, and of that, a third of that is protected by the Niagara Escarpment Commission. The available lands left, approximately 5 to 6%, which are zoned for residential, industrial, commercial, and mixed use. That is where the development can and is occurring. We are mandated by the province that all housing development occur in the current urban areas of the municipality. Lincoln would not be permitted to expand beyond its current borders. We will also be expected to see our density and our growth targets, as well as job creation targets within our existing boundaries. As one of the fastest growing municipalities, we need to evaluate every application and the many layers of planning policies. Community benefit and community engagement are priorities in every decision that we make. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Coming from the planning background, I was really interested to hear that answer, so I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, folks. Thank you to Lynn, to Greg, and to David. You are free to go. We're going to call up the candidates from Ward 2, who should be on the on-deck circle, whoever that is. I'm going to ask that the trustee candidates for the Niagara Catholic District School Board prepare and be ready to take the table after this crew has completed their run-through. The candidates for Ward 2 on your ballot will be Herbert Bloom, Tony Brunet, Elaine Mukama, and John Pachariva. I hope I got it right this time, John. I think I butchered it the last time out. I apologize for that. Mr. Bloom did not respond to our invitation to attend this evening and will not be participating. As I indicated, each candidate has been provided with the questions that will be circulated, but we're going to start with their 2-minute opening remarks, and we're going to also go in alphabetical order, which means we'll be starting with Tony. Tony, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, David, and thank you for coming this evening, everyone. Our community is projected to grow to 46,000 by 2051. It is critical we continue to work with all residents, business owners, and stakeholders to develop a shared vision for Lincoln that will guide the work we do moving into the future. From a policy perspective, we must continue to look at community and plan for smart growth. Growth is coming, and how we navigate the new development while ensuring we provide the necessary and associated recreational amenities and active transportation investments is smart growth. A consolidated regional transit system and a continued advocacy for the GO to Niagara is required. A balanced investment in roads, water, and wastewater, parks and recreation, while also focusing on economic outreach and business attraction and attention is required. Over the past 4 years, this term saw an unprecedented $57 million received from upper levels of government. It remains very important to build a strong, vibrant, and healthy community while preserving our history and our unique character and charm. We implemented a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy in 2022, and I will continue to promote and ensure we are a welcoming community. My pledge to all residents in Ward 2 and all of Lincoln is to be honest with residents and appreciate and respect they have a voice in municipal and regional matters. We truly have some transformational projects with the Prudence development ready to begin in Vineland and the opportunity that will be presented to the future council with the 16-acre Beamsville District Secondary School property. I ask for your support to continue the work started, and I ask for your vote to allow me the honor and privilege to be your voice at Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Elaine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Appreciate this time that you've given me to speak to the residents of Lincoln. I don't have a written speech here, so I'll go straight from my heart and why I came here tonight. So basically, I would like to start by first of all mentioning that my name is Alan Mukama, for those who don't know me. I am an electrical engineering graduate from the University of Waterloo. I've been a resident of Ontario, of Lincoln for the past 2.5 years, and I like the small town. I grew up in a small town of Sarnia, so Ontario, for those who know where that is, it's close to Windsor, and it's a very nice community. And basically, there's two factors that led me to run. One is has to do with the recent pandemic that we all experienced. It's negative consequences where we were all stuck in a house, in our homes, wondering what the world has gone through. I sat there asking myself, how come the federal and provincial governments have so much power over our individual local communities? So I do realize that obviously Lincoln does have limited powers, but I would like to give the residents a chance to actually be heard when big governments try to come and impose certain things that certain residents might not agree with. And I have spoken to some families who were very worried for their children. We have two kids, me and my wife. We were worried about our kids being stuck in the house all day because, for fear of the pandemic. So I'm running so that we can actually ensure that the residents, local communities have some sort of level of power to counteract any bigger movements that the federal or provincial governments are putting in. The second factor has to do with the fact of...
Alan, your 2 minutes are up, sir.
Okay.
So thank you. And John, to you.
Thank you, David, and thank you to the Chamber for putting on tonight's forum. I look forward to answering the Chamber's questions later on this evening, but I wanted to start my comments not by telling you how long I've been running, or my name, or about my family. All of these are important issues, and I have that information in my brochure. I encourage you to pick it up, to give it a read, to drop me a line, and we can chat about things. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure to have served the residents of Lincoln, and specifically Ward 2, and I'm hoping to be able to continue doing this so that we may keep moving the town forward. During my tenure, we have completed many transformational projects. Municipal politics is the level of government that is closest to the people. Ask anyone what they paid in GST or HST for the year, and they won't have a clue, unless, of course, if they're an accountant. But ask someone what they have paid in property tax, and that figure can be recalled in a matter of seconds. Collaborating with your counselor, we can affect change that affects your everyday life. Whether it's moving the Canada Post mailbox on Saddlebauer Drive away from a dangerous curve, installing speed bumps and other traffic calming measures to make your neighborhood safe, having a three-way stop installed at Village Park and Crescent Avenue, or Cherrywood and Ashby, to allow our children safe passage to school, or having a washroom, water filling station, wind curtain for the new tennis and pickleball courts, a bucket fills with water to dump on you at the splash pad, and path lighting at Prokich Park. All of this was attained through public consultation and conversations, and that we can achieve things together. I run and continue to run because as a councillor, we have a direct impact on people's lives. The mom who lost her daughter to cancer and feels a connection to gardening, and so we gave her a place to put up a flag. Another family with an autistic child who sometimes wandered. They wanted a sign put up letting the neighborhood know to be mindful as they drive on a busy street. We were able to get that up within 5 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We'll now move to the question and answer portion of the evening. Again, the question will be randomly selected. You'll have 1 minute to answer. At 15 seconds, Marty will flash the yellow card. When your time is up, he will raise the stop sign. So we're going to have the same order of questions as we did with opening remarks, meaning Tony, will start with you. And your question is, the availability of affordable and appropriate housing is an issue across the Golden Horseshoe and one that we experience here in the town of Lincoln. How would you prioritize and address concerns about the availability, development, and mix of appropriate market-based housing in the town of Lincoln?
Thank you, David, for the question. We launched a housing task force in 2020 in Lincoln, and we now have transitioned into a housing and homelessness community partnership advisory committee, of which I am currently the vice chair. We have been working with stakeholders such as the Region of Niagara, housing providers, and other key agencies to update our community improvement plans. One of the main principles of this exercise is to consider opportunities to incentivize more affordable housing in new developments and structure those agreements such that housing that is identified as affordable will remain affordable. In addition, the town of Lincoln has undertaken efforts to enhance affordable housing options by looking at our comprehensive zoning bylaw, updating, providing more opportunities for secondary and accessory dwelling, and a mixed-use community improvement plan and a CIP financial analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Alan, the question for you. The province of Ontario has established growth targets for the Niagara region, which see the region growing by 200,000 residents by the year 2051. The region has allocated a share of 45,660 residents to the town of Lincoln, which translates to approximately 19,400 additional households and will include an increased employment of approximately 15,000 additional jobs. As we plan for the future and the increased pressures of development, how will you balance the concerns of residents and the policies of the town, the region, and the province to ensure appropriate developments occur within our various unique communities? You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the question. It's a great question. I'm going to balance the pressures of development through ensuring that the residents get heard before we expand into any zones that are not allowed and that are not in the official plan as well. So I'm going to also make sure that the region, that the city has all the recreational parks available for kids to ensure that our kids have healthy areas for them to play, and ensure that, because healthy kids are better for the community and for the world, the bigger, wide environment. So I also want to ensure that all the small local businesses are also heard in terms of any businesses that they need to expand into. So, and yeah, that should be it.
Thank you, sir. And John, the last question to you. Some residents have difficulty separating the role of municipal government from other levels of government. What would you identify as the 3 most significant responsibilities and/or priorities of the municipal government in the town of Lincoln? And if elected, how will you execute those responsibilities?
Thank you, David. 3 most significant responsibilities and our priorities of the municipal government in the town of Lincoln are, number 1, safe drinking water; Number 2, to facilitate the movement of goods and residents on properly constructed and maintained roads. 3, to deliver outstanding recreational opportunities to all of our residents. We will achieve these by following the guidelines set out before us in the Safe Drinking Water Act and through our master plans that will guide the infrastructure renewal in a timely and cost-effective manner. Government has a responsibility to provide many of these legislated services and do invest in our community. We make decisions now that live on for years, and so we must consider the future and our children in every decision we make. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you to Tony, Alan, and John. Appreciate your response and your comments. Thank you very much. We're going to call the school board trustee candidates for the Niagara Catholic District School Board to take the stage. We received some feedback after our last debate some 4 years ago, for those of you who were in attendance. And speaking with some of the trustees, we thought it would be an opportunity to have the trustees come and share their thoughts with us. Is it something that we don't often get to hear? Also note, there was a slide that was up earlier. I'm not sure what the order of that is, and I'm going to put a challenge to our technical guy. He's not sure. He just gave me one of these, so that's okay. But you will see the breakdown of our municipal property taxes. A portion goes to the region. I think that's 51% of roughly for 2022. Most of that was Rob Foster's salary. The second part was about 12%. Oh, sorry, Rob's here. We'll get to hear from him later. The school boards represent about 12% of our property tax bill, and we thought it would be a great opportunity this evening to hear from the candidates running for trustee for both the Catholic District School Board, or the Niagara Catholic District School Board, and the Niagara Public District School Board. So the candidates vying for the Catholic District School Board this evening are Doug Joyner, Leanne Prince, and Roberta Skoko.
Yes.
Great, I got that right. I didn't get a chance to meet Roberta earlier and confirm how to pronounce her name. And I would note that the trustees are seeking election to represent Lincoln, Grimsby, and West Lincoln. So we get to have our say as from the Lincoln part of that equation to help those individuals get elected. So each candidate will be provided, or is provided with 2 minutes to introduce themselves, tell us why you're running, who you are, and what you hope to achieve should you be elected. Just a reminder, Marty is our timekeeper down there in the front row with the yellow card. You may not have seen him if you're a little farther back, but he'll be the one raising that card, and he'll raise the red stop sign when we get to that point. So we're going to go in alphabetical order, and that means Mr. Joyner, you are first. Doug, you have the floor. 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, sir. Good evening, residents of Lincoln, and welcome to the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce All Candidates Night. It is truly a pleasure to be given the opportunity to speak with all of you here tonight, and Miigwech to all First Nations people present here tonight and watching from home. On October 24th, I will be asking for your vote for the position of English Catholic School Board trustee here in Niagara West. Given my political experience both regionally and provincially, I believe that I have demonstrated the political experience and oversight needed to discuss school board governance at the highest level. At the Catholic School Board trustee table, I will be comfortable discussing the following 4 items. Number 1, million-dollar board budgets. Number 2, collective bargaining at a regional level. Number 3, a development of many board policies. And number 4, the enhancement of Catholic education. Also, as a recognized face in the Niagara West community and the past chair of the Niagara Region's Public Health and Social Services Committee, I have the ability to lead these important discussions on equity, on mental health, and accountability for all students during their K-12 education experience. And may I also state that I completely understand the role and the duties of an elected official. Even more to the point, I understand how trustees must carefully balance the demands of the community with the duties required by the Ministry of the Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Joyner is a faith-filled man, and I pledge to do a good job for all Catholic families here in Niagara West. On October 24th, I am asking for your vote for the Catholic School Board trustee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug. Leanne.
Good evening. I'm Leanne Prince, and I am seeking your support and vote to be re-elected on October 24th as Niagara Catholic's trustee for Lincoln, West Lincoln, and Grimsby. I am excited and proud to be a part of the Niagara Catholic community, both as an elected trustee and, more importantly, as a mother of 2 children currently in our system, one in secondary at Blessed Trinity and the second at St. Joseph Catholic Elementary. Prior to my being elected in 2018, I served as Catholic School Council Chair for St. Joseph and represented our communities on the NC PIC. I have chaired the Policy Committee from 2019 to 22 and been an active trustee representative on the Niagara Catholic Parent Involvement Committee, Audit Committee, and SEAC Committee. My priorities for Niagara Catholic are based on our multi-year strategic plan. I am delighted to have worked with our community partners in developing the 2021 to 2026 plan, called by name, Listening, Learning, and Leading. We are a Christ-centered Catholic faith community that celebrates diversity, fosters spiritual growth, inspiring all to reach their full potential in mind, body, and spirit. Our enrollment is growing, and we are focused to accommodate existing and new families in our schools. In the fall of 2024, all things equal, we will be opening a new elementary school on Green Lane here in Lincoln to help ease the pressure of St. Mark's. We have committed funding and have begun development of our turf field at Blessed Trinity to serve not just the students at Blessed Trinity, but all of our family of schools. Effective communication, transparency are needed to best support each other. I have proudly represented the community, which I have called home since 2010, and I look forward to continuing to support the needs of Niagara West, and I'm asking again for your support and vote on October 24th.
Perfect. Thank you, Leanne. Exactly 2 minutes. That's just the way we like it. Roberta, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for having me. Chiara Badano died in 1990 of a rare form of bone cancer at the age of 18. She refused morphine and instead offered up her suffering for Jesus. She remained joyful, spending time with other patients who were struggling. We now know her as Blessed Chiara Badano. Saint Jose Sanchez del Rio died in 1928 at 14 years old. He was captured in Mexico during the Cristero War. The government tried to suppress the Catholic Church and mandate secularization. The soldiers were so angered by his refusal to deny Christ that they cut off the bottom of his feet. As Jose was forced to walk through town, he recited the rosary, prayed for his enemies, and declared, "I will never give in, Viva Cristo Rey," which means long live Christ the King. St. Catherine of Alexandria, our patroness, was a scholar in the sciences and Christianity. The emperor brought out his most formidable opponents to debate her, but they could not defeat her. Some of them even converted to Christianity, and they were instantly martyred. The emperor had Catherine beheaded. My name is Roberta Skolko. I am a follower of Christ, wife to Ante, mother to 2 beautiful toddlers and counting, God willing, and a woman dedicated to her community. I earned a degree in literature and my Bachelor of Education at Brock University, and I am currently working on my Master of Theological Studies. Niagara is my home. If elected Catholic trustee, I will not only fulfill my fiscal responsibilities, but I will spearhead the revival of Catholic education. Students should graduate our board with a clear understanding of the beauty and divinity of the Catholic faith and their personal call to holiness. It is through a life in Christ that we become the most interesting and authentic versions of ourselves. We become saints. My goal is to implement concrete and effective faith formation material and assessment at all grade levels. I will also strengthen focus on academics and critical thinking. I will encourage more participation in extracurriculars. In addition, I will provide increased support for families, creating a digital forum where we as trustees can hear directly from parents and students. In Catholic education, we have the chance to inspire saints. If elected, I will ensure that this one distinguishing quality of Catholic education is met. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, candidates. We are now going to move to the question and answer portion. Similarly, the candidates have all been circulated the questions that were received and processed, if you will, through the chamber and provided ahead to each of the candidates. We've asked them to prepare a 1-minute response, and Marty's got his timer ready to go. We're going to maintain the same order, which means we'll be starting with Doug. And Doug, the question for you this evening is, what is the biggest challenge schools in our community currently face, and how do you propose to address it?
Well, thank you for the question. The biggest challenge schools in our West Niagara community face. Where to start? There are so many. You have proper classroom sizes. You have poverty within our community. You have mental health for our students and our staff. The ever-changing family dynamics. Keep schools open, keep them safe, and stay up with technology needs. However, the biggest challenge that school boards will have now and into the future is simply this. It's the rapid growth of Lincoln and the surrounding communities. Both school board planners and, of course, town planners will need to work together harmoniously together to ensure that we have the right planning documents in place. The right size of school, the right space within the school, and the best location for the schools. And as a former mayor and planning appeals adjudicator, I can lend a hand in this department when we're speaking about planning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug. Leanne, your question this evening. What do you identify as the 3 most significant responsibilities and/or priorities of a school trustee?
Thank you. The first is to champion equity across all of our Niagara Catholic schools. We know that no 2 communities are alike. We know that no 2 families are alike, whether it's socioeconomics, beliefs, family dynamics. We are all unique in God's eyes, and we all needed to be given the same equitable opportunities. Setting good policy for board to ensure a fair process is followed to receive community feedback, and to hold our Director of Education responsible and accountable to ensure that his departments are doing their jobs. Effective communication with all of Niagara Catholic families. While a trustee is not responsible for administrative decisions, I am committed to guiding families to help situations as they arise. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. And Roberta, your question this evening is, what are your views on the role of technology in teaching and learning?
I was wondering if I'd get the technology question. Technology as a controlled tool is an asset. It aids students in becoming resourceful and learning independently. It also assists in required modifications and accommodations for students. Like all things, technology can be used for good or the opposite. Students learning online must be guided, and I do consider cell phone access in schools a serious detriment to the overall well-being and learning of our young people. All we need to do is watch one of multiple documentaries on the negative impacts of social media to realize that cell phone access in schools will have more of a negative impact on students than positive. Now, how do we ensure that all schools have equal access to well-working computers, laptops, and tablets? Currently, Niagara Catholic students can bring in personal electronic devices for use if approved by administration or the classroom teacher, unless or until it interferes with student learning. This is the policy, and if elected, I want to hear about how it's going on the ground in our schools, and we can go from there. Be assured I have little to no tolerance for technology being available for recreational use in schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Leanne. Thanks very much for participating. You're free to go, folks. Just doing the one question this evening. We do have enough time, but I wasn't sure how much time I'd have after Mayor Easton finished speaking, so I wanted to make sure we had a buffer in there. It's all right. The mayor will get me back. She often does. So we're going to have our public school board trustees come forward. I'm not sure if they're where they are down in the on deck circle. So next up are the candidates for trustee for the Niagara District School Board. The trustees running are Margaret Bowman, Elizabeth Clausen, and Matthew Stanton. Welcome, candidates. Each candidate is provided with 2 minutes to introduce themselves and share with us any information they feel we might like to hear about this evening, and tell us why you're running and what are the issues that are foremost in your mind. Just a reminder, at 15 seconds, Marty will raise the yellow flag, and at 2 minutes, I will interject and I may interrupt you. We're going to hear the candidates in reverse alphabetical order just to further mix things up a little bit. And that means that Matthew, you get to start off. You have 2 minutes.
What a pleasant surprise. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Stanton, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you today about who I am, what my qualifications are, and why I'm running for trustee. So I am from Beamsville, raised. I went to Senator Gibson and BDSS, go Bucks, and I am very passionate and supportive of the public education system we have here in our community. In terms of my qualifications, I am a lawyer by training. I have a master's in public policy, and I serve on the board of directors for the Employment Help Center here in Beamsville. I've been wondering a lot about this role and what it means for our community, and I've been talking to residents as I've been going door to door. And what I've been hearing is that there's a lot of frustration about what's going on with respect to the new high school, and some frustration about a lack of communication from the board about what's going on with respect to public education in our town. So I believe we need a far more effective and engaged trustee in our community, someone who is communicating regularly with parents, advocating for their interests, and working to improve transparency at the board. I am also committed to collaborating with trustees from across Niagara to achieve student success and to promote the principles of inclusivity, equity, and respect in all of our public schools. I believe I bring a fresh perspective to this role, given my personal and professional background. I will ask tough questions, I will communicate regularly, and I will make sure that your voice is heard at the board. I've been told this is a part-time role, but I know it's a full-time responsibility representing your interests and communicating with you about what's happening at the board level and in our communities with respect to our public school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matthew. Elizabeth.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Clausen. I want to welcome here this evening. I am the currently serving trustee for the District School Board of Niagara. In 2018, I successfully campaigned to become the trustee, seeing concerns in the community about the West Niagara Secondary School and the teardown of the Heritage Building at Vineland Public School. I believe that our community is centered in our education experience. Our schools have a lifelong impact on our lives. Our teachers guide and mentor us as students. This opportunity carries a great responsibility. Our children are our greatest treasures, and what they learn is important to us as parents. As a parent, I volunteered in the classroom, committees, and fundraising campaigns. I served for 15 years on parent council and 13 of those as chair. My volunteer experience includes the marketing team for Save WLMH, which successfully campaigned to get the new hospital built in Grimsby. I'm actively involved as the president of the board of directors of CCWN, providing food security and bridging the gap to self-sufficiency in our community. As a school board trustee, I was able to successfully expedite the release of funds by the provincial government for the build of West Niagara Secondary School, which was approved prior to my tenure as a trustee. I advocated for the greenhouse to be integrated in the new build of our high school and successfully gained provincial government approval. I have been dedicated to liaising between our community for education and advocating tirelessly when parents have concerns for their child. I've been successful in resolving issues for students, families in our community, and liaise with constituents when they have concerns. As a leader, your role is better defined as servanthood, and in that, I hope I can once again represent my community, parents, grandparents, students, businesses in this election. Your confidence in my abilities has been a privilege, and I hope to continue to work on your behalf, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Margaret.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Marg Bowman, and I'm a candidate for the position of Public School Trustee for Grimsby Lincoln, and it is a pleasure to be here this evening and to meet you. A little bit about me. My husband and I have lived in Grimsby for over 40 years, and our daughter is a graduate of Grimsby Public Schools. We experienced firsthand caring and dedicated teachers and schools who provided the best programming to meet her needs. This experience is what I would wish now for our grandson and for all the students in the Niagara Board, and I would work hard toward that goal. So what can I bring to the job? I am a retired educator, having taught in both elementary and secondary schools. As a principal, I worked with trustees, parents, and school councils for many years. I have also had experience sitting on a number of boards of directors, overseeing budgets, developing and carrying out strategic plans, and in one case, hiring a new CEO. For example, I am a former member of the provincial board of the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies, and I was its former chair. So being involved in the community has always been important to me. My priorities as your trustee: firstly, to watch budgets carefully and avoid in the future the costly overruns and delays that occurred with the new Niagara West Secondary School. Secondly, to help students bridge the gaps in learning and social skills caused by the in-school interruptions due to COVID. Thirdly, to keep schools safe by championing diversity, equity, and inclusion so that all students and staff feel safe and respected. And I would work hard to keep schools safe by monitoring COVID protocols so schools can keep open. I would also make sure that we have resources for special education needs and supports for mental health and quality programming. In closing, someone once told me that the definition of a school is, quote, 4 walls with the future inside. I can think of no greater work than contributing to the development and education of our future in a strong and caring public school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. We're now going to move to the question and answer portion of the evening. I'd just like to remind the candidates for Ward 1 that you should be in the on-deck circle warming up. We'll be watching for you. Our first question this evening goes to Matthew, and that question, Matthew, is how would you improve transparency to ensure that parents get pertinent information that helps improve outcomes?
A softball. Thank you. I would improve transparency in 2 ways. The first being at the board level. Anyone who's read the board minutes on the website knows that it's difficult to determine exactly what was decided, why it was important, and how it impacts students. So the first thing I would do is to have more substantive and detailed board minutes available to people on the website. The second way I would improve transparency is at the trustee level. I believe the trustees, one of their responsibilities is to summarize after a board meeting for parents, students, and the community what was discussed, why is it important, and how does it impact students and parents. That's a key role, is community engagement. And I think it's something that's sorely lacking right now, and I think that what we need is a trustee who is doing the hard work for students and parents after a board meeting, improving transparency by providing more daylight about what is being discussed at board meetings and how it affects students, parents, and the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Elizabeth, your question this evening. What are your views on the role of technology in teaching and learning?
Well, in the last 3 years, I would say technology has been a saving grace for education. We've been able to provide technology for all of our students, whether they're learning at home or whether learning in the school. And that includes trying to make equitable choices for students who don't necessarily have Wi-Fi at home, creating technology for them at home to be able to learn still. Technology has been a real big course in the schools or part of our education, but it's also the future for our students. And we have courses where we're teaching coding and making lots of opportunities for students to learn, website development, the future of our world. So they're preparing students for education and future endeavors with technology before they reach post-secondary.
Thank you. And Margaret, your question this evening, what is the biggest challenge schools in our community currently face, and how do you propose to address it?
Okay, thank you. One of the biggest challenges in the community and across the Niagara School District is the impact of the last 2 years of interrupted learning caused by the pandemic and the ongoing need to keep schools open and safe for staff and students. To address this challenge, I would firstly monitor the $5.6 million that has been set aside for COVID learning recovery in the recent Niagara Board's budget, and would make sure that these funds are used effectively and carefully for resources to identify and to meet evolving student and staff needs. Secondly, I would support and monitor the Niagara Board's pandemic recovery plan to assist students in bridging the gaps in academic learning and social skills. And I would assess the effectiveness of these strategies with evidence-based data to make sure that we are actually addressing those needs. And lastly, I would advocate for continued ventilation improvements in schools and the monitoring of COVID protocols to keep students and staff safe and schools open.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, Margaret, Elizabeth, and Matthew. Appreciate your participation this evening and wish you all the success in the upcoming election. Next up is Ward 1, so I will invite the candidates for Ward 1 to come to the stage and take their seats. Watch, don't get run over. Good evening, candidates. Welcome. 4 candidates running in Ward 1, and those candidates are Diane Regima, Brian Romagnoli, Adam Russell, and Joanne Sirkin. Welcome. Each candidate is provided with 2 minutes to introduce themselves and share with us some thoughts as to why they're running and what they're hoping to achieve should they be elected. As usual, when 15 seconds comes on the clock, Marty will raise his little yellow card that says 15 seconds, and when you hit the 2-minute mark, there will be a stop sign, and I will have to interrupt if we don't get a stop. So, we're going to be going in reverse alphabetical order, just because I have the ability to make that decision. I'm going to do that, and that means that we are going to be starting with Joanne. So, Joanne, you've got 2 minutes.
Great. Thank you, David. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here this evening. First, I would like to start by thanking the Chamber of Commerce and Great Lakes Schools for hosting this all-candidates meeting. My life has been dedicated to service. I have over 24 years of policing experience. I've worked in community policing and with youth group programs. I was also a proud member of the Canadian Naval Reserves, and I am currently the president-elect of the Lincoln Rotary Club. I believe in service and giving back to my community. I live in Ward 1 on Ontario Street. This is important when you make your choice. Let's be frank. One of the main issues of this election is development in Ward 1. A lot of focus for current council has been on residential growth, and we've seen the consequences of this. Traffic has become a main concern for us here in Ward 1, and the time is now to implement real solutions. To that end, I bring to the table extensive experience with truck and traffic enforcement and strategic thinking on how we can resolve these problems. In my door-to-door discussions, it is clear that a safe community is a priority for all residents. It is essential for the future of our town. Thanks to my policing background, I am aware of proactive measures we must seriously consider as our town grows, and I will be able to bring that to the council table. Our community has so much to offer. We have a new Rotary Park, we have over 50 wineries, distilleries, breweries, outdoor activities, and so much more. From a tourist point of view, we can and should be the get-to, go-to vacation destination in Niagara. I believe in transparency. I promote inclusion, diversity, and fairness, and it is my job as councillor to listen, work the problems, and bring a voice of real solutions to Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Adam. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Dave. My name is Adam Russell. I am seeking re-election in Ward 1.
I'm surprised that nobody else has said this tonight, but one of the reasons why I'm running is I love this town. My wife and I have been here for a little bit over 16 years. We're raising our family here. We have 2 girls that are a vibrant part of the community. They go to school here. They have friends here. And I've always wanted to make sure that the community they grow up in is safe, is built for the long term. And again, it's something that they can be proud of and hopefully stay here long term as well. When I ran in 2018, I had 3 main concerns. I was concerned about development, I was concerned about how our money was being spent, and I was concerned about the transparency at Town Hall. I made it my goal, and I think we've heard from most of the candidates tonight about all the great things that are happening in the ward and also in the town, so I don't need to repeat those, but 3 main concerns and challenges that we see coming up is how your money is being spent. We're entering a time where we're likely to go into recession. We're seeing, because of the impacts of COVID, of inflation, all disposable income is being pressured, and we are starting to see that across the doors when we're knocking over the campaign. And we need to make sure that, again, your dollars are respected and that we have to make some tough choices going forward. We have a 10-year plan on some of the projects we want to do in town, and we are going to have to make sure that, again, we can afford those without an impact to you, our residents, and we need to make sure that we are very respectful of that taxpayer. Also, I'm still concerned about development, but we only have 2 minutes, so I can't go into a whole lot about that. Lastly, though, again, I'm also concerned about the engagement that we get from residents. Over my 4 years, I've tried to be as transparent as possible, be as approachable as possible, and give answers upon questions that I'm asked. And I want to make sure that going forward, that residents realize that their voice matters, and that all of us, whether we're voted in or not, we should be a conduit for you to make sure that what the action is taken at Town Hall is respective of your needs and your wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Brian, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Brian Romanoli. I first want to thank the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Great Lakes Christian High School for hosting this event. Both are familiar to me, as I grew up here and ran a small business for several years. Over the past few weeks, I've been determined to knock on doors and meet as many people as possible, and in the greater area, Beamsville area and of Ward 1. What I hear over and over is that Lincoln, in particular Beamsville, is losing its hometown values and small-town charm. With a lack of policing and bylaw enforcement over the past several terms of council, we've seen an increase in noise, traffic, gridlock, and crime. With a lack of good planning, we have seen a shocking increase in high-rises, which are clearly out of scale with neighboring homes and businesses. There are driveways that lead into intersections, which inevitably endanger pedestrians and motorists. And there is a complete lack of heritage continuity and respect for architectural features and viewscapes that make up the character of our downtown. It seems that the very attributes that attracted people here in the first place to live, work, raise their families, and retire are gradually but surely disappearing. We need to be mindful of the slippery slopes and warning signs and nip them in the bud before they become bigger problems. The town's youth need to be engaged, and although there will be a further distance to travel to the new West Niagara Secondary School, there can be new life and a bright future that can arise from the historic Beamsville High School. I see a bright future with an adaptive reuse plan to relocate the municipal offices and the provision for a mix of heritage, educational, institutional venues that encourage and showcase local ingenuity and agritourism.
Thank you, Brian. Your 2 minutes are up, sir.
Just in finishing, I believe that Lincoln's best days are still ahead, and I would be honored to have your vote in Ward 1 on October 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. My name is Diane Ritchema, and I'm your current counselor, one of your current counselors here in Ward 1. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I want to thank my fellow candidates and the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce for putting on this event. I know we find ourselves saying this over and over again, but it's really, really good that we can do this in person. It's been a tough few years, and we communicate in other ways, but it's just not as good as in person, is it? This is great, and I'm really glad we didn't have to do this on Zoom. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to talk about during my 2 minutes, is that communication is really important. It's become really clear over the last few years of isolation how important communication really is. And for a municipal government, it's a powerful problem-solving tool. I've always really appreciated the value that information sharing and engaging the community and creating opportunities for discussion brings. I've really loved hearing from people about how much they appreciate the open agenda ward meetings that myself and Councillor Russell have held over the last few years, and that I used to hold with Councillor Foster when he was in Ward 1 as well. Of course, now we have Speak Up Lincoln, we have various social media accounts, and we have the quarterly newsletter. It's very hard to measure the value of this, but I can say that I've seen it because I see and experience and talk with people about their higher level of comfort that they feel in the community. It's relationship building. And that's an important role for local government. We should be there for you to reach out to, and we should be responsive. I mean, it's human nature that people are, they'll speak up when they're upset, but I think the opposite can be true. When you invest in creating a comfortable, welcoming culture in any organization or community, people respond and they come out and they want to be involved. So in conclusion, proactive community engagement and connection are a passion of mine. And again, these are really problem-solving tools, and they're essential, really. So I'm looking forward to answering your questions after this, and I want to leave you with 2 questions in the meantime.
Diane, we're kind of
What is most important to you?
We're over on time.
I'm done?
Unfortunately. You are now.
One more question. How can we best engage or communicate with you? Thank you.
That's actually 3 questions. Thank you, candidates, and sorry to have to interrupt you like that, but we have to keep moving. We've got momentum on our side now. I would like the candidates for Ward 3 to start thinking about making their way to the on-deck circle and doing their stretches, get a couple of swings in, that kind of thing. We're going to now move to the question and answer portion of the evening for our Ward 1 candidates. We're going to maintain the same order as the original speaking. So our first question will go to Joanne. Joanne, the availability of affordable and appropriate housing is an issue in the Golden Horseshoe and one that we experience here in the town of Lincoln. How would you prioritize and address concerns about the availability, development, and mix of appropriate market-based housing in the town of Lincoln? You have 1 minute.
Thank you, David. Affordable housing is such a big and complex topic. What is affordable housing? What can be done to ensure appropriate housing is available in our community? My experience has offered me some insight into attainable housing options that can and should be considered by our community. I plan to advocate on council to create partnerships with existing agencies and other governments to assist those in crisis to have an opportunity to succeed. We need to be sure that we give a hand to those who need our help, those dealing with domestic abuse, single mothers or fathers, and people through no fault of their own that are down and hard on their times. Our community can be compassionate. I believe in service and giving back to my community. Our community can be compassionate. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam, your question this evening. The province of Ontario has established growth targets for the Niagara region, which see the region growing by 200,000 residents by the year 2051. The region has allocated a share of 45,660 residents to the town of Lincoln, which translates to approximately 19,400 additional households. It will include an increased employment of approximately 15,000 additional jobs. As we plan for the future and the increased pressures of development, how will you balance the concerns of residents and the policies of the town, the region, and the province to ensure appropriate developments occur within our various unique communities?
Good question. Only a minute is tough. Again, the unfortunate thing is that the province does swing a very heavy stick in this regard. They do dictate a lot of what the growth targets are down to us, and it's the expectation that we are to fulfill those. I think it is incumbent upon any councillor or any lower level municipality that we do draw the line and push back where pushback is needed. Again, smart development gets bandied around quite a bit, and without actually giving a definition of it, it's something that we do need to focus on, and it's something that, as Mayor Easton mentioned in her preamble, there are a lot of benefits that come along with it. So I think as a councillor, and I think I've shown this in my first 4 years, that it is okay to say no, and it is okay to set expectations high from developers. I know we have a developer here tonight, and again, I think there is definitely a balancing act between the needs of the community and affordable housing, as Joanne just mentioned, but also that need to keep moving forward and find that the happy medium between the two and try to be some sort of reasonability between it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Brian, your question this evening. Some residents have difficulty separating the role of municipal government from other levels of government. What would you identify as the 3 most significant responsibilities and or priorities of the municipal government in the town of Lincoln? And if elected, how will you execute those responsibilities?
Thank you, David. I've only received these questions about an hour and a half ago, so I'll try to wing it. The normal things for local government to attend to the various departments would be what concerns residents: garbage collection, snow removal, the care of municipal roads, fiscal responsibility, and keeping the taxes low. Those are probably the primary issues. Safety would be another that affect local residents. I would certainly see to it that those needs are met.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Diane, your question this evening. Several residents have raised concerns about increases to town staffing and compensation. If you were out door knocking and this concern was raised to you, how would you respond?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I have had that discussion with a couple of people for sure, so the question is not just hypothetical. It's a good question. Lincoln is known in the region for having a very strong senior leadership team on staff, and those, for the most part, are the people I interact with regularly. And I have to agree that, yes, we are very fortunate. A couple, or I should say they're a group of talented, well-qualified individuals who function together as a great team. And I have to share with you that the team, and this was mentioned earlier on today, has pulled in $24 million in funding from upper levels of government in the last 4 or 5 years to assist with everything from playground equipment to disaster relief to the construction of the new museum. That's an admirable amount, and I'm proud of them. So to the question, yes, we do have to make sure we aren't taking on more staff than is required, and that's a question we have to ask regularly at budget time and through the year as projects start and finish and service delivery demands ebb and flow. Let's make sure we're considering hiring temporary staff where it makes sense or on contract for limited time projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Diane, Adam, Brian, and Joanne. Best of luck on the 24th.
Thank you.
You are free to go. Thank you. And now we welcome to the stage for our final panel of the evening, the candidates for Ward 3. I'm sure they're making their way up once there we go, I see them coming. So our candidates in Ward 3 are Mike Mikulik, Anna Murray, Terry Tether, and Dave Thompson. Let's just encourage them while they're coming up here, make them feel comfortable. They've been sitting down there watching all of their other potential colleagues go through the motions, and the anxiety starts to build over time, I'm sure. It's like, oh no, we're next. I'm sure we'll all be fine. So each candidate is going to be provided with 2 minutes for some opening remarks to tell us who they are, why they're running, and what they're hoping to achieve once they get there. We're going to go again in reverse alphabetical order, just to keep it interesting, and that means we start off with Mr. Thompson. Dave, you get to go first, 2 minutes. Marty's got your card down there, so keep an eye out for him. When you're ready, sir.
Thank you so much, David. Thanks for the Chamber for holding this event, and thanks for everybody showing up to listen to us. My name is Dave Thompson. I'm running for council in Ward 3. My purpose for running for this election is to have a positive and lasting impact on my community, the place I call home. For 20 years, about 20 years ago, I caught my first glimpse of the type of impact that can be made by just a few folks who recognize the need in their community and have the vision to see a solution and have the commitment to make it happen. I remember it like it was yesterday when our group was presenting to council on behalf of the Vineland Upper Deck YFC Youth Center. We were looking to get council approval to acquire the old Women's Institute Hall and open a youth center in Vineland. I can remember being so nervous for that meeting. It's a crucial turning point for me. Something special really happened that night. You know, the council graciously sold the YFC, the building, for $1 so that we'd have the opportunity to make a better community for everyone. We had a positive community impact, and that continues on today. I realized then that I could make a positive impact on my community, and I was going to do my very best to make that happen by running and being elected to council. Fast forward a few years. In fact, I was elected to town council for 2 terms, 8 years of service with difficult challenges and sometimes very tough choices. I learned during those years that with great vision, values, and wisdom of those around the table with me, great things were possible. Solid wins for our communities were achieved, and real tangible work was done, and the progress was made. We had big wins in our community, like building the Fleming Center, and small ones like the LED streetlight upgrade project. I believe there's still much more hard work to be done. Complex decisions need to be made that will determine the type of place Lincoln becomes in the future. I believe it's a very positive future. We're so blessed by the abundance of opportunity we have in this community. It's going to take a lot of work, much discussion, many differences of opinion, and lots of energy and tenacity. I have that energy and tenacity to do the work. Please elect me on the October 24th for Ward 3 Council.
Thank you, Dave. Terry, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you all for coming this evening, and to the organizers of the event. While door knocking last week, I made a decision that is now keeping me up at night. A woman asked if I would like to come in and see the golden doodles that she had in her garage, and I picked one up for a cuddle. And of course, now she is the cause of my loss of sleep. I tell you this to illustrate that if elected, I will not be making spontaneous and costly choices like that one. The decisions I make will be evidence-based, relying on empirical studies and informed sources. I will be examining questions through a lens of sustainability. I believe in science, not populism. I have not served on council, but do have significant life experience, and in my travel to dozens of countries worldwide over 50 years, I have seen communities that flourish and those that do not. As a result, I believe I'm able to promote new perspectives and fresh ideas. I have a master's degree from Simon Fraser University and served as the supervisor of social services for the city of Niagara Falls. I was a teacher in charge of a high school with clientele consisting of over 150 behaviorally challenged high school students, and this experience provided me with a wealth of interpersonal and communication skills, and may also have been partially responsible for the change in my hair color. I believe in encouraging civic engagement and volunteerism, a timetable to replace fossil fuels as an energy source for new homes and buildings, promoting the potential of new types of micro-farming such as aquaponics, exploring the viability of replacing the Jordan Lions pool with a year-round facility, and expanding the Rittenhouse Library. I'm currently the chair of the Museum Advisory Committee and vice chair of the Library Board. I have volunteered extensively for Special Olympics, Habitat for Humanity, and the Institute of Canadian Citizenship. I'm married 39 years with a daughter, and I'm about to become a first-time grandfather. I enjoy hiking, books, blues guitar, and of course, puppies. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Anna.
Good evening, everyone.
I've lived here in Lincoln for over 30 years. I've raised my family here. My grandkids live here. I am deeply invested in this community, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. I'm running for election here in Ward 3 because it matters to me what happens in Lincoln over the next 4 years and beyond. I went back to school as a mature student in 2011 while also working full-time and earned my MBA from McMaster University's DeGroote School of Business. I was the executive director of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, and I now work as the director of finance for a local not-for-profit that supports the Ontario VQA wine industry. I think it's important that I mention that education and experience because I think it speaks to who I am as a candidate. It means that I understand the challenges and the realities that our local businesses are facing, and I am committed to making sure that those perspectives are brought forward at Council. It means that I understand how to critically read reports and distill them down to the important points in order to make meaningful recommendations on how to move forward and make decisions in the best interests of our community. It means that I have a strong background in fiscal planning, budgeting, and making the tough decisions around what we need, what we want, and what we can afford to spend as we work to become the community we want to be. I'm on the board of both the Lincoln Public Library with Terry and the Rotary Club of Lincoln. I've devoted time to these organizations because they align with my personal values, and I believe in the importance of individuals working together to create a strong, resilient, and caring community. And I'd like to continue that service as Councillor for Ward 3. People keep on asking me, why should I vote for you? You should vote for me because I'm smart, I'm capable, and I'm qualified. I feel confident in my ability to handle the workload, speak to your concerns, and bring a fresh perspective and a new voice to the table. I look forward to being able to represent the people of Ward 3, champion local business, and connect you with the resources you need to thrive as you work, live, and serve our community here in Lincoln. Thanks.
I warned you about that noise down there, hooligans. Mike, you're up. 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It's been a true privilege to have served the residents of Ward 3 as your town councillor during these past 4 years. Having been a local business owner and a resident for over 25 years, I've appreciated the wonderful attributes of Lincoln. Despite the challenges of COVID, these have been some of the most progressive times of the town of Lincoln, especially within our ward. Your concerns and feedback are important to me, which is why I've always been dedicated to making every effort to respond to everyone in as timely a manner as possible. As your ward councillor, my most important duty is to be your voice at Town Hall. I've always brought a resident's perspective to all meetings and votes, ensuring responsible spending, working towards balanced growth, and the promotion of our community. Some of our achievements this past term include a bylaw addressing cannabis, the reconstruction start of Jordan Village, and the advocacy for over $57 million in upper-level funding. If re-elected, I'm hoping to continue pushing the region to perform the much-needed improvements to our downtown Vineland area. Housing and its affordability within our community has been a challenge that we've taken head-on. Our hope is to attract new investment from developers to create a diverse range of housing options, both new and existing residents. I believe it's extremely important to have a diverse range of residents within our community, which is why it's critical that our municipality is one that welcomes all and is able to provide accommodations to do so. Over the past 4 years, I've enjoyed connecting with residents. It's these personal discussions that influence and guide me when making decisions on your behalf to continue moving Lincoln in a forward direction. I would be honored to continue working together with you to sustain this forward momentum for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates. We're now going to move to the question and answer portion of the evening. Again, the questions will be random, so we may hear a few of them that we've already heard, but bear with us, folks. You will have an opportunity to speak to the candidates, and if one of these questions triggered an interest for you, please feel free to pose it to a candidate that didn't have that. I think Marty just flashed me the stop sign, so I better get going here. So the first question will go to Dave. And Dave, your question this evening is, what is your position on the need for additional parks, recreational services, and natural spaces for residents to access in the town of Lincoln? And how would you, if elected, prioritize these issues?
Thanks for the question, David. Many large investments in parks, recreational services, and natural spaces within Lincoln have been made over the last 15 years, including examples such as the building of the Fleming Center and the Conkle Creek Naturalization Redevelopment during my terms on council. There's still more opportunities that are being worked on, such as revitalization of Jordan Lyons Park, just to name one. Healthy and happy communities provide such amenities as the one of the crucial parts of a complete community. Careful consideration must be put into the spending decisions. Cost versus benefit analysis must be undertaken. Ensure that wise investments are made in these endeavors while keeping in mind the costs to taxpayers and the benefits to our community. Our investment in our parks has created some wonderful benefits. It's the key to ensure a whole community that has access to these amenities. We do need to continue to enhance the parks and recreation infrastructure in our community, but it must be done at a sustainable pace to ensure the financial health of our municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Terry, your question this evening. The town of Lincoln has a unique combination of prime agricultural lands, greenbelt lands, and lands protected by the Niagara Escarpment Commission. These classifications of lands affect the amount of land available for new development and redevelopment in the town. We have seen many new development applications come forward with significant densities in the context of the town of Lincoln. How will you respond to applications seeking increased densities and heights beyond those currently outlined in the town's official plan?
Thank you. Town staff have worked diligently to establish an official plan that seeks to find a compromise between development, the protection of agricultural and greenbelt classified lands, and general building restrictions. They are experts. They are paid to research, consult, and provide the very answers to these questions. Both density and height restrictions need to be clear and appropriate to the environmental and social fabric of the neighboring communities. We cannot expect Lincoln citizens to be faced with the changing of these parameters. People become more entrenched in their opposition when uninformed about the advantages of doing so. If changing such zoning regulations increases the quality of life for those living nearby by providing greater amenities, such as great recreational opportunities, for example, I would consider that value in my decision to support or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna, your question this evening. Sorry, it's going to be one that you're thinking that's intentionally spent your way. As costs of doing business is increasing everywhere, and the businesses in Lincoln are feeling that pressure. What do you see as something the town of Lincoln can do to help Lincoln's business community remain competitive and keep costs affordable such that they will want to stay, grow, prosper, and belong?
This is not actually the question I wanted to answer, so can I pick my own?
No, this is the one you have to
All
answer,
right.
sorry.
Well, as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, I did interact with a lot of businesses and really was able to hear about their challenges and try to work through some of them with them. I've seen firsthand how the impacts of pandemic-related shutdowns are still being felt across all business sectors, and continued support for local businesses must be a priority as we move into the new term of council. The town is working with St. Catharines to build a tourism plan. However, without accommodations, it's hard to encourage visitors to stay in Lincoln rather than just passing through and spending their vacation dollars in other areas of Niagara. I support the town working with other local agencies to remove roadblocks to opening up opportunities for accommodation facilities and other tourism-related businesses. While I recognize the need to police and control certain industries through business licensing, I do not support the added red tape of business registration across all sectors. To ensure that Lincoln remains open for business, municipal policies impacting the business community should focus on eliminating red tape and creating new opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And Mike, the final question for the evening goes to you, sir. Some residents have difficulty separating the role of municipal government from other levels of government. What would you identify as the 3 most significant responsibilities and/or priorities of the municipal government in the town of Lincoln? And if elected, how will you execute those responsibilities?
This is an interesting subject that's definitely come up as I've been knocking on doors. Simply put, municipalities take care of the services that are needed or hoped for, that residents require on a daily basis. In my opinion, the 3 most significant responsibilities are, number 1, ensuring utilities, roads, and infrastructure are in good working order. I want to know that I can take a warm shower in the morning, be able to flush the toilet, check my computer to see what the weather is like, and be able to drive to work or go play hockey safely on a well-maintained road. Number 2, land use planning. We need to ensure that the neighborhoods that drew us here in the first place remain areas that we continue to want to live in the future. And finally, number 3, fire and emergency services. I want to be assured that my family, friends, along with myself, are safe and that help is always there if ever needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Terry. And thank you, Dave. Big thank you to all the candidates that participated this evening. Let's give them all a round of applause. You're very welcome. Election Day is October 24th, and I hope that this evening's event has given you a little bit of insight to help you when it comes to casting your ballot on that day. The polls open at 10 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. Don't confuse that with the previous provincial election. That was 9 to 9. We don't want to make that mistake because you show up at 8:30, you're not going to get to vote. If you're unable to attend on Election Day, there are 2 advanced poll dates, either Saturday, October the 15th, or Wednesday, October the 19th. And if you prefer, you can go home tonight and you can vote online. Online voting is available until October the 19th. It closes at 8 p.m. I'm going to go home and vote tonight online. Now, I'm going to turn the stage back to Don here in a second, but it's not common that Mr. Foster gets to speak after I do, and I don't get a rebuttal, so anything he says, just remember, take it with a grain of salt if he's talking about me. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great evening.
There he is.
Didn't even see him sneak up behind me.
I know. I deliberately did that. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm really pleased to be the last speaker here this evening. I'm glad you all stuck around. I know all of you are saying, hey, it's been a really long evening. So just before I came up here, I was talking with David, and I asked him, should I cut down my speech to 20 minutes? And he said, yes, absolutely. Now, actually, he shook his head, walked away, and I'm not sure what that really means. Anyway, good evening, everybody. To the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and the Great Lakes School, thank you for hosting this event and providing an opportunity for me to speak this evening. To all the candidates that are seeking our votes this evening, I congratulate you first and foremost on putting your names forward and for detailing for all of us your stances on topics of interest in our Lincoln community. As David had said, but I was asked by Lindsay to say this as well. So, advanced polling is available online now until next Wednesday, October the 19th at 8 p.m. Advanced in-person voting is available at Town Hall Saturday, October the 15th and Wednesday, October the 19th. And on Election Day, voting is available at the Fleming Center from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Well, I got to say, I'm pleased to be returning as your representative at Niagara Region, and I thank you for the confidence that you're shown to me with that. While it sometimes remains somewhat out of sight for many of us, and it is also sometimes an easy shot when discussions around politics happen, the reality is that the region of Niagara has a significant effect on our lives. Intermunicipal roads, bridges, water and sewer treatment. For example, we have a $400 million water treatment plant that's about to be built in Niagara Falls. Long-term care facilities. There are 2 brand new facilities going into Fort Erie and St. Catharines, both over $100 million. Policing, which is one of the biggest things within our budget. Ambulance, EMS services, public health, garbage collection, childcare, social services, provincial courts, economic development, planning overall for the region, funding for the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, which I am now chair, and transit. The region has a $1.5 billion budget, to give you an idea of what's going on. One of the proudest things that I've done in the last 4 years, and I want to thank Mayor Easton as well as we went through this, was raising $10.5 million from the region for our hospital in West Lincoln. And here's the reality for all of us. We are entering some interesting times economically. All governments must be looking to live within their means. In our post-pandemic world, we must be as efficient as possible while meeting the required service needs of the community. The positions of town councillor and school board trustee are very important. It is these people who will be making the choices on spending our property tax dollars, and I think all of them have done a very good job of outlining how they feel with that. Take what you have learned tonight and please vote for your candidate or candidates who will represent you best. The candidates will be available here this evening until 9:30 or once everybody's gone. Anyway, thank you for your confidence in me as regional councillor, and to all, have a very pleasant evening.